Okay, so moving on to the third Prime Minister of Britain. At this time, I should point out, this is still before the Act of Union 1801, in which case we became the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland. So at this time, it was still the Kingdom of Great Britain. The third Prime Minister was Henry Pelham, which is somewhat unusual, if I just may say so myself, because at this time most of the Prime Ministers had titles like Earl of, Duke of, etc. In the case of Henry Pelham, it was just plain old Henry Pelham, which is more like the American presidents in a sense. Anyway, just bear with me a second and I shall read out the 10 Downing Street piece on Sir Henry Pelham. Well, Pelham was born in Loughton, Sussex in 1694, some sources say 1696. He was a Whig, and this is what it says on the Downing Street page. A loyal follower of Walpole, Henry Pelham served as Prime Minister for 10 years, which by the way is among the longest serving tenures. He brought experience and stability to the role, uniting factions, quashing an attempt to overthrow the king at home, and ending a long-running war with European neighbours. Pelham came from a political dynasty. The son of a long-serving MP, Pelham's brother was the Duke of Newcastle, and the two reached the top of the political tree together. The Duke went on to follow Pelham as Prime Minister. Henry Pelham was a Lord of the Treasury under Walpole and was his close friend and ally. He refused to take over from Walpole in 1742 out of friendship for the fallen Prime Minister. Instead, he took over the office after Lord Wilmington's death the following year. One of Pelham's strengths as Prime Minister was his ability to unite different political factions. George II, however, was less keen on him. In 1746, Pelham's term was briefly interrupted by an initially hostile George II, who wanted to replace him with Lord Granville. But Lord Granville could not command the support of Parliament, and Pelham was reinstated 3 days later. Pelham's premiership saw attempts at social and financial reform, not all of which were successful. Yet he was successful in ending the War of the Austrian Succession in 1748, achieving peace with France and trade with Spain. At home, Pelham helped to straighten out the national finances, made a doomed attempt to strengthen the rights of Jews, and approved an act adopting the Gregorian calendar, which moved the beginning of the year from 25th of March to the 1st of January. Legislation establishing the British Museum was also passed during Pelham's term. Harassed and wearied by his duties, Pelham died in office in 1754 in London, and he was only 59 when he died. He is said to have eaten too much and exercised too little and had a succession of illnesses during his life. And I should say, when he assumed office, he was 48. So that is Henry Pelham. In retrospect, I think he can be seen as quite a successful Prime Minister overall. Another thing that it doesn't mention in the 10 Downing Street source is that the Jacobite Rising took place in his term in 1745. That was an attempt by Charles Edward Stuart to regain the House of Stuart and restore an absolute monarchy. At this time it was the Hanoverian dynasty. Bear in mind, Britain had abolished its absolute monarchy with the Glorious Revolution in 1688. Now, the Jacobite Rising was an event that is still very romanticised in Scottish history, a very important event. It also witnessed what was arguably the last pitched battle on British soil at Culloden in 1746. What followed was a period of repression against the Jacobites known as the Highland Clearances, things like that. It's still a very controversial and divisive event, but arguably the Battle of Culloden was the last pitched battle on British soil, although that is debatable because there were later engagements in other parts of the country. Anyway, Pelham, I think it's fair to say, was quite an influential Prime Minister for his time. Also, he was a military man. He had served as a foot soldier at the Battle of Preston in 1715. And he also, at Oxford, established well, actually, there's a drinking club, the Sir Henry Pelham Gentlemen's Sporting Society, which still honours him to this day. And he was MP for Seaford in Sussex. So that's Sir Henry Pelham, the third Prime Minister of Great Britain.